each player has their own deck that they are drawing from, and as you play the game, you add cards to your personal deck to build out your strategy for the game. So some examples would be Dominion, or on this channel, Mystic Vale. So this is similar to any other deck building game, but it also has a board with it. The concept of Clank is you are all thieves sneaking into a dragon's den to steal some treasure. In Clank, you will win if you have the most points at the end of your journey. And to get points, you will collect an artifact from a dragon dungeon, plus any other trinkets you may find. And then you'll score extra points if you silently card. If I were to buy a blue card or a yellow card, then those would go in my turn discard, which would later be shuffled back into my deck as part of deck building. If, on the other hand, I get a red card or a purple card, those will be purchased, used immediately, and then discarded. Not in my personal discard, but discarded from the game. My cat is snoring in the background. If you want to buy a red card, these work a little bit differently. They're essentially fighting monsters in the dungeon. So instead of buying the card using skill, you can see in the bottom corner the cost is bought in swords since you're fighting the monster. So this hand, I don't have any swords, but if you bought a couple of swords, you'd be able to fight this monster and then immediately get the defeat reward. This one is draw 2 cards, and then you would permanently discard it from the game. You'll also see this goblin card, which is part of the permanently available selection of cards, and this is just one monster that will always stay out here for anyone to be able to fight. So if you fight using 2 swords, you will get 1 coin, and this one you'll just leave here for a future person to continue fighting goblins if they would like to. The other thing that you can do on your turn is move around the board. So I'll go into some of the intricacies in a minute, but for the most part, you will count up the number of boots in your hand. I have 2, and each boot is worth a movement. So that means moving through one of these tunnels between rooms. Another thing you might do on your turn is complete any of the actions on the cards in your hand. So this one says add 1 clink, which I'll explain is not a good thing, but you still have to do it. If you add this in your hand, draw a card, -2 clink, 2 coins. If you have an artifact, +2 skill. So all kinds of different things that your cards might do if you have them in your hand. And you do have to complete all of the cards in your hand. Once you have used all of your cards, you will do one last thing in your turn, which is check for a dragon attack. So the dragon will attack using this dragon bag, nice velvety bag. So this dragon bag is filled with a bunch of duds. So these are black cubes that will essentially mean that the dragon missed you. But throughout the game, you will also have your cubes put into the dragon bag if you make noise and anger the dragon. So at the end of every turn, you'll of course refresh place a cube on that meter when you take damage. And lastly, there is this path which connects across the board here. So you can go this way to this one or this way to this room. So back to the master key. I'm going to explain 9 things in the market. So the market is these 4 different So that's a hefty reward for getting it all the way back. The next thing that I will talk about is the name of the game, Clink. So Clink is when you're sneaking about and you bump something, you clink something, which slowly awakens and angers the dragon in the dungeon. Some cards cause clink, and when you get a clink card, you will add a clink cube to the clink area. Clink, 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 clink. So depending on what the card says, you might add some cubes into this area, and they will collect here until the dragon is enraged and could maybe use these cubes to damage you. So the dragon's mood is tracked on this rage tracker here. So you can see little dragon guy. He'll start at the lowest rage, which is 2 attacks, and then could go up to 5 attacks at maximum range. So the rage will go up for a few different things. First, the rage will go up every single time someone picks up an artifact. The rage will also go up whenever you reveal one of the dragon's eggs. So for example, here's a dragon egg. It's worth 3 victory points, but it does increase the range of the dragon. If it's filled up all the way to the top and is enraged even further, that automatically ends the game. The dragon goes on a rampage and kills anyone that's still in the underground dragon den. You'll continue taking turns one at a time, drawing 5 cards, playing them, next person drawing 5 cards, playing them, etc. until the end of the game. So the game does have somewhat staggered endings for the different players depending on their journey and how it goes. So if a player finishes their mission early, so they went into the dungeon, got whatever artifact they wanted, and got back up to the flag, that is sort of the end of the game for that player. Also, if a player is damaged fully, so if their health meter is filled to the brim with damage cubes, then the game is over for them. So in either of those cases, if you're knocked out or if you finished